Happy weekend, Free Enterprise fans. Hope you're all having a good day today. I am Moonblaze Wolf, and myself and Rex Raoul will be commentating this Anima group match between Klopfer, who has a record of 0-1, and Y2Sky, who has a record of 1-1. So this is a big match for both runners. They are both looking to avoid the hook group. The winner of this match, if it's Klopfer, will keep his magma group dreams alive, and for Y2Sky, if he gets the win, he will clinch a spot in that magma group. So really important match for both of these runners. It should also be noted that both of their losses came to group 3-0 winner Aizen Tayama, and they were both very close, really interesting matches. So I think we're going to be in for a good one today, with a lot on the line for both of our runners. Rex, what do you see here for our start, and what do you think about the match overall?
I think, I agree with everything that you said as far as the importance of this match. This is going to be a key match for both Klopfer and Y2Sky, trying to make it into that magma group instead of the hook group for the next round. But we've got a really interesting start here because Tella is a character who, in previous events in Free Enterprise history, has not always been a character that people like, but in this particular flag set has been a favorite among a lot of the runners. So that's a very good start for a lot of the way that a lot of people are running the race now. We've got a couple of objectives here. The complete the sealed cave is another one that's probably not one of the objectives that the runners would like to see, because we've got the warp glitch enabled, which usually means that skipping the sealed cave is usually on the table. But in this case, there's going to be added incentive to actually complete it. So that might affect the routing, not worrying about warp. But then again, we've got Tella, who can get warp by completing Mount Ordeal. So a lot of things kind of pushing against each other so far, just from this opening screen.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a really interesting objective set, and I think we're going to be in for a really long, winding, interesting race today, because all of these objectives are key item gated, and in addition to that, some pretty tricky spots potentially. You kind of talked about how the sealed cave is a little bit awkward for the overall strategy of the runners. It's also a spot where if you get the wrong boss there, it can be really nasty. I'm especially thinking of something like a Golbez or something like that. And the same with the Odin spot. So depending on what characters our runners find, where the key items are, we could be in for a really intense race here.
Another thing that's really interesting about this flag set is the fact that none of the objectives require the darkness crystal. However, with the fact that we've got Tella starting out, the darkness crystal might be the key to a lot of the grinds, especially if our runners are prepped in doing the D-Machine grind, which does require the darkness crystal in order to enact. But we get started and we see Edge as the second character. We're not going to see Golbez at the bottom of the sealed cave because he is lingering in the Golbez spot. Or excuse me, now it's the Golbez spot, but it's normally the Baigan spot.
Yeah, that is a character, Golbez. You always want to see where he is at the beginning of a seed. Potentially required, though, because objective number 4, you will have to go through that spot. So we may have some ha in our future, but I think both runners probably pretty relieved to see that Edge as the second character. And then Tella, as you've kind of been talking about, just has so much utility all the way throughout the seed. So this could be kind of like the dream pairing. Honestly, like if I was going to pick two characters to start with, I would be hard-pressed to find a better combination than Edge and Tella myself.
Yeah, it's tough because they're very good utility, especially Tella, and Edge just makes a mincemeat out of the overworld, especially, and is very useful throughout the seed, depending on what equipment you find. But that power robe that Y2Sky just found in the Baron Inn is something that's going to really help Edge.
Yeah, he's that's going to give him just a really nice damage boost because of how damage calculations work. Power Robe should, give you a really nice boost to your damage via multiplier. So, yeah, our runners are definitely liking what they're seeing. Klopfer, Meanwhile, heading into Watery Pass, which is a play I love, except for when that happens, running into that waterfall room and seeing 3 empty chests. Rex, for those viewers who may not have been able to catch a race so far, why are some of the chests empty like this?
Well, we've got what's the flag is sparse 60, so we've got a chunk of chests that are, well, not available. The sparse refers to how much loot is around, so you're going to see quite a number of chests that are already open, but the chests that are there are going to be, we've got the I believe T Wildish randomization on, which means that you're going to get, in general, like kind of a wide array of quality, but there is some slight weighting to it, and that Watery Pass that you mentioned you like looting, Blaze, is weighted a little bit higher, so the odds of finding a very good piece of equipment or item are a bit higher in some of the more out of the reach areas. But there's still a chance that they're going to be empty too, so it's a risk-reward game that you're playing throughout the looting portion of this seed.
For sure, and it was interesting to note, Klopfer did exit out after opening just the chests in that first area, that first room. Although not finding a second edge, you've definitely got plenty of power there at the beginning, but I will be curious to see if Y2Sky does the full loot of the Watery Pass, because there's a lot more chests that are past this first room that you go in as well. But I also do like the very aggressive play from Klopfer here with those 2 edges in the Tella, just to get going on the checks, because you gotta find some key items to win the game, and you might as well get going if you've got the power. So.
And it's one of the things, the advantage of having especially 2 edges to start with is you've just got a lot of power to deal damage to these overworld bosses that you don't need a whole lot of other help. Now, Y2Sky's plan of doing a little bit more extensive looting, especially in the Watery Pass, could absolutely pay off if he ends up finding like a ninja sword or a Murasame or something in one of these staffs. Or he finds a life staff. That's a really good item. Should there be a white mage that we can find, or even Tella can use it in a pinch as well.
Yeah, that's the piece of tier 6, I believe it is, loot that you're not guaranteed, but you have a higher percentage of finding in Watery Pass on this flag set. And a lot of places like Antlion Cave that Klopfer was just hunting through, I'm pretty sure you don't have a chance of getting T6, or if you do, it's much, much smaller. So Y2Sky getting a really good item there might not be the item that he was ultimately hoping for. I'm sure you're really looking for like a ninja sword or something like that with this start, but hey, it's still value.
Right, and that's kind of the gamble, because, like, as you mentioned, Klopfer's early Antlion play was a little bit more aggressive. However, there's some added benefits to doing some looting early, especially if you're planning on doing a lot of shopping, because you're going to need to have money, and selling items that you get in shops is probably going to be the most efficient way for you to gain money in this flag set.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the other part of looting that's often overlooked sometimes. You can get really excited about the individual overall pieces of loot that you find, but on the whole, you need to use that looting to build your bankroll.
Yeah,
and just to get.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you're fine. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like the bread and butter sort of pieces of gear that you find, like your ice armors and your silver shields and things like that, are generally what's going to build a lot of your coffers for funding the things, rather than, like, the splashy ones will give you a lot of money if you don't want to use them. But oftentimes, if you find like a dragoon spear, you might want to hold on to it just in case you find cane later. So sometimes it's those mid-tier ones that are going to really fill your pocketbooks.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Just to get everybody caught up a little bit here, Klopfer got the hook out of the Antlion Cave, so that could potentially be our way underground after taking out Odin. And we'll see how aggressive Klopfer decides to continue to be. We also just found our 3rd Tella, by the way, in the Baron Inn, guarded by Edge's parents. So this seed is very, shall we say, 2-dimensional so far in terms of the character selection.
Right, and the thing about Tella is we talked about how great he is, how much good utility he brings as a character, but there is a bit of diminishing returns when it comes to Tella. You don't really need a whole lot more than one Tella in order to get use out of him.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, the same with Edge can be honestly said a lot of the time too, especially as the game goes along, because unless you find the right shop that has like those long swords in it, for example, it can be hard to find enough weapons for Edge to ultimately be, very, very effective from beginning to end. It does look like Y2Sky picked up a Kane and a Yang, I assume from Mysidia, so that's going to get us some more character diversity here. Although interesting to note, it's all melee characters in Tela so far. So yeah, we're not really finding maybe a mage character. I'm sure both of our runners would love to find a real white mage. Ooh, and there's the pan from the Baron Inn for Klopfer. So that's a required key item there.
Yeah, very nice to find that early, not have to worry about that. The question becomes then, throughout the routing, do you skip Fabul at this point since you've got the potential for the solo or just one trip through the Sylph Cave and do it all in one go? Or do you try to hunt for that magma key in Fabul? That is assuming that the magma key isn't found somewhere else.
I mean, it's definitely a consideration. If I were in Klopfer's shoes right now, and he doesn't have the full character spread that Y2Sky does, but what I would say is, I've got the hook, I've got the pan, I've got a pretty decent party. Let's go do ordeals to power up Tela, and then let's just rush this hook route, because that way I probably am going to be able to take care of whatever's on that hook route anyways. If for some reason it seems rude or rough, I can always back out and, assess my options then. But let's get a one dip Fabul here is what I would probably be thinking, and we'll see what Klopfer thinks too. Still just completely bypassing those character checks in Mysidia, although he is going to get a character check here going up Ordeals. But yeah, just really playing very aggressively.
Finds Porum up here on Mount Ordeals. We've got a mage character, and it's a white mage, so that's, if you're going to go with a physical berserking strategy towards the end, having an additional white mage is definitely something that you're going to want to have, either to cast the berserk itself or just to keep your characters alive throughout the Threemus fight. So welcome sight is Porum.
And if you want a better white mage, you could do what Y2Sky is doing right now, which is went up onto Mount Hobbs and found himself a Rosa. So
yeah, it looks like Y2Sky is doing a little bit more prioritizing of crafting the party that he wants. And we see it looks like he decided to forgo Yang and keep the two edges, got Kane, and now Rosa adding to the mix. And so it's a pretty robust team that's building on Y2Sky, whereas Klopfer still has those two Tellas, and Porum is a little bit not as end game friendly as Rosa is. But does have some options there as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the seed shakes up, because Klopfer is being a little bit more aggressive in the early part of the game and trying to just kind of shorten the time to just get everything in, set up for the rest of the seed, whereas Y2Sky is being a little bit more meticulous, but it might pay off by making the mid-game and late-game fights a little bit faster as well.
yeah, I do. I will say at this point, I do like Y2Sky's party quite a bit more. He also picked up a fire sword there, checking the back of Hobbs after getting Rosa, so that'll be a nice weapon upgrade for Kane. And but at the same time, early on, you got two edges, you're going to be fine through pretty much anything here. So we see Klopfer really just kind of buzzing through some of these early checks. The only question, as you were saying, is the aggressiveness going to maybe catch up a little bit later, maybe on the hook route or something, where you might get a little more out of Y2Sky's party here, which is just a little bit more solid, going to have more XP. Looks like he is getting ready to do Fabul here, so I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do things, but it is an interesting divergence as far as early strategy between these two runners for sure.
And that's kind of the difference in routing too. Y2Sky didn't do the Baron Inn fight yet, so doesn't have that pan, and so doesn't have as much incentive to skip Fabul at this point that Klopfer does. So that could definitely be coloring the painting of the seed. The difference of the routing right here. If this ends up being the Magna key here, this could be something that really favors Y2Sky. But we're going to get a key item check here in Mount Ordeals for Klopfer momentarily, and it's the Luca key, which is important for objective number 2.
Yeah, so that's 2 objective-related items in Klopfer's pocket already. So we were talking about how this seed could be kind of a long and winding, interesting one. And as of right now, we are really just a couple key items away, potentially. We could be 1 pan away from go mode for Klopfer with the Baron key and then some way to get to Zeromus. So it's not really breaking the way maybe we originally thought looking at it, but we do still potentially have a rough hook route to go through. Y2Sky finds the alt gauntlet at Fabul, and that is not what you want to see. That is that's unfortunate for him.
Yeah, whenever you see this, you're really hoping to get paid off with something really important afterwards, because you're going to be investing a lot of time into this fight no matter what. Even though this is going to be a relatively easy one, especially with 2 edges in your party, getting through this is not going to be difficult, but it is time consuming. And when you're in a race, things that are time consuming are not your friend.
Yeah, we'll see what the payoff is. It's just we've already seen a lot more here from watching Klopfer, and we know that Klopfer in the meantime has already found 2 required items. So that could be coloring things a little bit. But I would be pretty surprised to see Klopfer go to Fabul. I suspect that he's going to go straight to the hook route now. So if this does end up being like the Magma Key or one of the Excalibur pieces for forging, that would really get Y2Sky back on track here. Although again, maybe not. Klopfer is heading up there to Fabul, so.
Yeah, before Klopfer went up to Fabul, I would think another one that might be interesting is the Darkness Crystal, depending on grind options as well. Being able to grind before going through the hook route might be something to save a bunch of time, depending on who the boss is there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And
just a Gaia drum, though.
Just a Gaia drum. Yep. So that is, we are, unless there is a rude demist somewhere with more progression, looks like we are on a hook route here. And to be fair, like Klopfer has power overwhelming for the early game, at least for the party. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with doing this check. It's more just, do you kind of keep the pedal to the floor, or do you be thorough? And the way Klopfer's been playing, he's really been playing with the pedal to the floor so far. So, this is a good play if you want to be thorough, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like it's going to net you too much that's going to help you get through that hook route. So could have easily seen Klopfer just go and rush that hook route after this.
Yeah, it's one of those where you might just be gambling on trying to find the Magma Key or some other overworld progression that might help you there. Maybe looking for that Baron Key, because Klopfer might think that he's able to do Baron right now anyways, so would rather take care of that while he's overworld instead of having to... Like, the more times that you transfer between overworld, underworld, overworld, moon... Those are just more animations they have to deal with. So if you can avoid things like that, you do save a little bit of time overall.
Yeah, I think that's all spot on. I do think it's going to be interesting to just sort of see as well, in terms of the seed, if Y2Sky having a Rosa versus a Porum affects the seed at all, because I do think, not to wear my biases on my sleeve too much. They're both perfectly acceptable white mages, but especially in this format, I would take Rosa over Porum all day, every day. It's not particularly close. Having that early Cure 4 and more hit points is really, really advantageous later on. So.
Yeah, Porum's advantages come more early in the seed. She learns Berserk at an earlier level, and she has access to the exit spell just by level progression, whereas Rosa, you need to complete the Tower of Zot in order for her to learn exit. So those are kind of the key differences. With Tella in the party, it kind of mitigates that difference, the weaknesses that Rosa has in the early game. So in this situation specifically, I would totally take Rosa over Porum. And in general, I would too. There are certain cases where I think it is a little bit more advantageous, especially in the early to mid part of the seed, to have Porum.
Yeah, Porum will potentially provide some advantages for going through the hook route here for sure with earlier Berserk and Blink, which could be pretty key to getting through this fight. So that is, we did see Y2Sky saying no thanks to a second White Mage, which definitely seems fine to me. But again, we're gonna see maybe some of the differences here. It is also, I think, worth noting that Klopfer is just playing very efficiently right now. They're kind of doing things, the same things, a little bit out of order, but I do feel like Klopfer has really been efficient so far in routing and taking things out in a very efficient manner. So that's been nice to see. Very skillful play here from Klopfer watching from up here.
I agree, and the difference in the routing is kind of an advantage for Klopfer as well. By going through the Baron Inn, like kind of going the overworld in reverse in a lot of senses, by going early Baron Inn followed by Ordeals rather than... it's kind of like, if you think about it as a clock, kind of a counterclockwise circle rather than a clockwise circle for the positioning on the overworld, means that Klopfer gets a little bit more of an experience burst for like for example the fools, to make those fights a little bit easier and everything like that. That makes sense what I'm saying. I hope it does.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. I think the biggest thing I'm noticing, and this is just speculation from watching, but I really get the feeling from watching Klopfer play that he had a plan for how I want to do this overworld with a telestart or with an edge start or with a hook route potentially. And there's just not a lot of... Everything is very decisive. I just feel like he knows exactly what he wants to do next. He's being very efficient in his movements, menuing, all of that. We see him doing some shop checks here. And again, it's just like, it's almost like you're watching somebody read off a shopping list, because he goes into that shop, sees Ether 1, says, okay, I want 4 of those, and just immediately goes and gets it taken care of, which is just, it's really those little things a lot of the time that can make a difference. Whereas I've definitely noticed Y2Sky taking a little bit more time, being a little bit more thoughtful at certain moments, which again isn't a bad thing, because sometimes you want to, if you need to stop and think for a second, you always want to stop and think. But a lot of the stuff Klopfer's doing looks very automatic, which can be beneficial in this kind of race for sure.
It's one of those things where it's kind of the difference between like your pre-game preparation and enacting it, and reacting to what the seed is giving you. And depending on what you prepared for and everything, if that plan, just executing that plan is going to be the best route for you, or if just being able to adapt on the fly is going to be better for you. And that's kind of what we're seeing in the push and pull between these two runners here.
Yeah, agreed. And Klopfer headed for Eblin Cave now. Probably gonna do some more looting, do that shop check, see what character he gets. He's still carting around that second Tella, I believe. So
I believe he actually ditched that second Tella in Mysidia. I don't remember if it was Kane or Yang that he took over him, but I think he ditched one of them.
You're right. Yeah, no, you're right. I forgot that. But yeah, he's down to 1 Tella, which is definitely what you want. Ooh, Bacchus's End Sirens in this shop. That is what you want to see.
I've been seeing a lot under these flag sets. This shop in Eblin just paying off big time with really good items, and no exception here. Both of those Bacchus's and Sirens, really big items for getting through a seed fast, especially if you're going to be relying on characters like Kane and Edge to do a lot of damage via berserking.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you saw him only buy 2 Bacchus wines there, which is actually, I think, is really smart right now, because you can always come back to this shop later, but you want to at least buy a couple in case you need them to get through this hook route. So, you know, that's a heads up play there. Definitely like that decision there by Klopfer. And it looks like we got Y2Sky doing a little bit of looting here in Eblin Castle, which is definitely a play we've been seeing from some runners. Going in, getting some getting some chests, trying to find some good items there. Eblin Castle is another spot, kind of like the Watery Pass that we were talking about earlier, where the treasure chests are weighted a little bit higher, so you can potentially get some really good and/or really valuable for selling items here. So, and we had a Rosa there on the hook route.
So Klopfer kind of being rewarded, even though he skipped that Rosa up on Mount Hobbs that we saw earlier, and upgrades for him to Rosa in his team anyways. So that wasn't going to be a guarantee of what character was there, but it turns out to really work out for him in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, especially in this flag set with so many character checks, that is a little bit of like the risk-reward decision that you have to kind of look at when you go to a place like Hobbs and pick up a character that you actually want, that they might be available somewhere else later on. So I did just notice as well, really important pickup for Klopfer. He just found a boomerang in one of those chests. And the reason that's important is that is one of the long-range weapons for Edge. And so Klopfer is now going to be able to back row glitch both of his edges, which is not something I believe he was able to do to this point.
Very useful technique. The advantage of having multiple characters, being able to go with 3 characters in the back row versus 2 is huge, especially if you're still able to do that full damage from the back row from your beaters like Edge. It just adds a little bit more survivability for the team, especially if we're going to see some tough physical bosses. And we still have an unknown boss in that upcoming King Queen Evelyn fight. And if that's a physical-based boss, that could be a very scary proposition.
Indeed. We also had a Lunar Sparkle, which could be something like an Ogopogo or something like that too. So really, could be a variety of nastiness coming up here. Klopfer did get a Zeus Gauntlet as well, which will definitely help out on the defense and offense front. And Y2Sky is fighting trap chests in Eblin Castle, so going to get a nice XP boost here, and maybe that'll pay off if it does end up being a pretty rude boss on that hook route.
It's one of those situations where, depending on how comfortable you feel with a little bit lower level strats for a tough boss, and that boss in the Rubicante spot is a pretty tough boss. Going through a hook route is no joke. And if you get the extra gear, the extra experience from these Eblin Castle fights, it could really help a runner out. And so this might just be a little bit of hedging from Y2Sky, saying, like, I think I might need a little bit of help here, and I'd rather get the help now instead of having to go through and know that I need help later and having to backtrack. So it's a little bit of a time investment now, but if it turns out that he needs it, it could be time saved that he doesn't have to backtrack out of Upper Babylon.
Absolutely, and it went really quickly. Did I just see Y2Sky also get a Zeus Gauntlet out of a random test? Wow. Okay, so potentially 2 Zeus Gauntlets for Y2Sky. Meanwhile, Klopfer is going to have to take a reset because that Tella was trying to cast Size on the Mad Ogres and was not able to stick the landing. Wasn't in the middle slot, which could just have been a little bit of bad luck. I don't know the percentages off the top of my head as well as a lot of the other really top players of this game do, but I do know that if you want Tella to land a spell on some monsters, you definitely want to put him in the middle slot. So we'll see if Klopfer decides just to push through, decides to go for it again, maybe change things up a little bit here. And does give Y2Sky a little bit of an opportunity to catch up here.
Yeah, stats are not Tella's strong suit. He does not come with a lot of power when it comes to his magic ability. He's got a lot of variety, a lot of utility, a lot of things that he can do, but he doesn't do a lot of them really well, especially if you're talking about dealing damage or percent-based hits on status effects. That center boost, whatever character is in the center position of your party gets a boost to their accuracy, and that's both for physical attacks and for spell attacks. And so relying on something like Size, which has a percentage to work, just gets boosted when you're in the center spot, especially for somebody like Tella whose stats are low and not reliable to get those percentage hits.
Indeed. And one other thing, I'm not sure he either it was equipped on Kane or did not equip that Zeus Gauntlet. Klopfer found a loose Zeus Gauntlet at all, so or as well, I should say. So has that equipped now. Gonna try this fight again. I don't think his back row glitched those edges as well, which could also be something beneficial. But I think gonna try to maybe just fight it out a little bit here too, and that could also help. It does look like he has a slingshot set up for this fight on both his Rosa and Kane. So I think considering that, you definitely want to land this size spell so that you can have a stress-free fight. And make sure that you get all of your life glitches. Make sure that you get all the XP that you can for those two characters.
And here comes that size. Let's see if it works this time. And it does. So that's going to render these Mad Ogres basically... you're not going to lose the fight at this point.
Nope, they are now baby ogres. So... This will be really nice, a really nice boost for Klopfer here, to get all of this XP on Kane and Rosa in particular, and maybe a good item. We see Y2Sky here as well. Looks like he is going to go start heading through this hook route as well. I do find it a little bit interesting that, and I don't know if he checked Baron in to see what was there, but. Skipping Baron in at this point is kind of an interesting decision, especially with that free fight in the first spot. So, and we know that the pan is behind there, so we know that from that standpoint, maybe also something that you don't want to be skipping. But it'll be interesting to see if that is something that Y2Sky comes back to pretty early on or leaves hanging for a while.
I imagine. We talked about a little bit earlier in the broadcast how having multiple Tellas can be a bit of a diminishing return, and that was the character in Baron Inn. And with Y2Sky already having access to a Tella, you might think like, this is something that I'm going to just avoid, and hopefully I'm going to not need it. Now, he doesn't, of course, know what we know from Klopfer, that it contains the pan, but I can totally see and understand this taking the gamble to avoid that position right now, because the main thing, or one of the main things that you get out of that, is that character check. And if the character isn't somebody that you want, that just kind of reduces the value that you're getting out of that. And that might be what was going through Y2Sky's mind in fading that position.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see Y2Sky selling a lot of stuff, basically selling pretty much everything must go in Y2Sky's inventory there in order to load up on Sirens and Bacchus wine. So he will not have to be making a return trip to Eblin Cave in the future. Oh, this is a rough first boss. This one might hurt for our runners. Karate in the first spot, especially with this setup that Klopfer has gone into the fight with the edge in the middle. This is going to hit hard and fast.
Going to be tough. I believe one of his characters is equipped with a glass helmet that was found earlier, and that's going to help for this fight, since the physical damage with the glass hat is reduced considerably. But it is a fast fight. It is a lot of damage. If he can dish out enough damage quickly enough, it doesn't have a super high HP total, and that's kind of the one advantage that this spot has. But it's definitely a scary fight without a doubt.
Yeah, you're really just you're hoping to get that 6,000 damage through. I would be looking for something to dart. I don't know what Klopfer has in his inventory right now, but you probably need a couple more hits. A nice dart could go a long way here.
And this might be one where those extra levels that Y2Sky and the extra equipment that was found in the Eblin Castle might help out if Klopfer isn't able to take out this karate man here.
I mean, it was really close. I thought that jump was going to finish it off.
I thought that might have been enough as well.
I'm sure he was only a couple hundred HP short. So yeah, definitely need to do this again. Again, you maybe switch things up a little bit here. You've got a lot of different options as far as how you can configure your party here. You do have that ability to back row glitch, which I don't think he's taken advantage of. But if you put like a glass helm Zeus Gauntlet edge in the back row, I mean, that should make the fight pretty much free, but it's tough to, you're racing, you're rushing, you're trying to make these decisions. It's tough to keep track of all that stuff for our runners, but for everybody watching who is looking at this fight and going, man, I struggle with fights like this too. Like, what's something that I could do to get through this? Like, that is probably the biggest thing I see right here is the agility situation and also the where you're putting your attackers. So
another thing that's always in the arsenal of runners in this game is if a fight, especially like this where it's really fast, consider turning the battle speed down, just giving you a little bit more breathing room between attacks, and being able to make your decisions like that can really affect the outcome of the fight.
Yeah, and we did see Klopfer turn the battle speed down to 3 here, so that should help a little bit getting through those menus. So that might be a good thing. I would say too, like, he bought a couple Bacchus wines from the Eblin shop. I think you just gotta, whoever that first edge is that comes up, you gotta just use a Bacchus wine. You can't potentially wait for your white mage's turn to come around and hope that they're able to get a berserk off here.
Right, and this might be just one of those situations where you've got to bite the bullet. You only had money for a couple of them at this point, but you don't have a lot of options right now, and so using it might be the best situation. Now, if you look at Y2Sky, who's in the fight right now, is going with the 2 in the front, 3 in the back, so has a little bit more protection when it comes to the back row bonus, and is utilizing the blink spell. Klopfer is through the fight, however, but I think Y2Sky gained some serious ground as he just finished as well. So the more slow getting through everything and getting those extra levels and everything may have benefited Y2Sky in this situation here.
Yeah, as you said, they both ultimately got through the fight, but Y2Sky has just made up a lot of time here, and also has more levels on his party. So depending on who the second boss is too, we could see kind of a repeat of that Yang situation where it's going to be a little bit easier for Y2Sky potentially, just depending on who this boss is, and maybe a little bit of a better setup as well, as you were saying.
And it turns out that fight is Plague. This is a very interesting fight for a number of reasons. It's a very unique, kind of gimmicky boss fight. The only thing that Plague does to affect you really is casting that count spell, which gives all of your characters a 10, well, I'd say 10 second, but it's 10. We'll just go 10 units of countdown. And if there's a character who doesn't have it, he'll re-up that spell on everybody. So we see Klopfer going with a tried and true tactic of casting or knocking out one of the characters and then reviving him so that the count will come up again. While having a Star Veil up on one of his other characters means the count gets reflected, and Plague is susceptible to that countdown as well. So this is just one avenue that you have, and one way that you can try to get through this fight is something like this.
Yeah, I think it's gonna work out okay for Klopfer here. Y2Sky, I don't think was able to reflect a count yet, but is trying to he's trying to damage on through it in addition to the other. But yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how long it takes for that count to go off on Klopfer's side. But it does look like he's got the fight pretty much under control here.
It's one of the situations where Klopfer is using a little bit more of an advanced strategy with getting the reflect on the count, whereas Y2Sky is going a little bit more traditional by just continually knocking out and reviving it. It's Tella in this case who's kind of the sacrificial lamb. But as long as we can keep going and the berserks really help with that, it's usually a winning strategy as well.
Yeah, and Y2Sky does have those berserks going, so I think that his strategy is going to work out pretty well. And there, Klopfer, the count does go off on Plague. That was going to be my next question, was how long does it take for that count to go off on Klopfer's side? But we got our answer. That did not take particularly long, and Klopfer is through the hook route.
It's tough to gauge because you don't get to see the countdown itself. Now, on Y2Sky's screen, I think there was an unfortunate Kane attacked Tella to knock him out again, but missed. And so that's something that can really throw a wrench into the works here. Getting a life potion off there, hopefully we'll have time to get another count before the countdown reaches 0.
Yeah, it looks like he just got it off. So this is looking good for Y2Sky too, and I think it's game on. Yep, he's through. I think it was less than a minute difference between the two of them. So the one big advantage here now is Klopfer has the pan, and Y2Sky does not. So
yeah, and that is a real advantage that Klopfer has at this point. But as we see, some of those extra levels and everything are making these fights considerably easier for Y2Sky at this point. Another question that's going to present itself to our runners shortly is, how soon do I cash in some of these sirens to do a grind now that we've got Underworld access? One of the most famous and preferred grinds for a lot of runners is that Yellow Dragon egg grind that's available once we've got Underworld access. And since sirens were for sale already, that's something that we might see as soon as now, really.
yeah, it would not surprise me to see Y2Sky do some sirens right away, pretty much, because I think he loaded up with about 20 or so. Klopfer only has a couple, and also has the pan that obviously is going to be your top priority. Y2Sky, I'm a little worried about, might spend some time down here peeking around, looking around. Probably, if I was to guess, we'll even do Sheila 1 before Baron Inn, which is going to be just another trip down Sylph Cave. So Y2Sky definitely has some things going for him right now in terms of his levels and some of these other things, but the pan is just going to give Klopfer potentially just a huge advantage here.
As long as the key items given from the Sylph, which turns out to just be Excalibur, and the Sheila 2 check are not, for example, the Baron Key or the Legend Sword Adamant, then the skip might still be okay for Y2Sky if he's able to come up with those other objectives quickly enough. Because I think at this point, the odds of him going back to Baron Inn are pretty low. I don't think there's so many more places that are more dense with key item checks at this point that it seems like that's been his strategy. That I'm going to want to get underground and have access to all these other checks right now. Like, I guess I could be wrong, and he could go back there, which would be great. But hopefully, for his sake, he'll find a way to defeat this seed without needing that in a reasonable amount of time as well.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it just kind of seems like if you go do Sheila 1 before you do Baron Inn, you've already kind of lost any advantage that you might have had there.
Yeah.
Klopfer gets the items. I saw a Sand Ruby. I did not catch the other one. I saw an Excalibur from the Sylphs. Murasame.
Yeah.
Okay, so at least on that front, Y2Sky does dodge the the Baron Key or the Darkness Crystal being there. So that's good. Also, at the same time, we checked that freebie in the Fey March, and it was a Bahamut summon. So nothing going on there either. It looks like, we're going to want to get ready to go do, potentially the Luca Cave, maybe Dwarf Castle. We did see a free boss at the top of Keyless Tower as well. So it was one of the two Baron guards. And we've got Mega Sisters in the Leviathan spot and a Sparkle in the Asura spot. So that's not great either, to be completely honest. For this team especially.
Those are some scary boss fights. Well, I mean, the Lunar Sparkle is probably going to be scary considering it's not Plague, because we've already seen Plague, and that's the most cheesable of the Lunar Sparkles, I would think.
Yeah, we've seen Pale Dim as well. So two thirds chance it is either Ogopogo or Wyvern, which are going to just be very, very unpleasant in that spot. So I don't think either of our runners has a curse string either. I have not seen that for either of them.
And I would even say Lunar Diaz is not going to be a super easy fight either. So, like all of the Lunar Sparkle fights left in a spot like that are potentially very dangerous.
Indeed. And Rex, we did get a Job Dwarf check from Y2Sky. Would you like to announce for everybody who the Job Dwarf was today?
We have a coat room attendant for that's the... I also like to think of it as the Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins dwarf. Just every time you see him, different job.
I like the idea of that room being a coat room, though. That's actually very funny.
It might as well be. I mean, there's plenty of room for it.
Couch 23 in chat also volunteering to hold our coats. We can just throw them on him, I believe, if need be. So, Klopfer doing some eggs now. Y2Sky unfortunately going and doing that Sheila 1 check, which I was worried about for him. But I really hope that once the dust has settled here, doesn't continue to fade that Baron in for too long. Klopfer has objective 3 lit up now, so he's the first of our 2 runners to have an objective down here. So,
yeah, by completing that pan circuit, that does complete that objective. Klopfer might be doing a couple eggs either to try to prep for those Feymarch fights, or might be heading to Dwarf Castle and just wants a little bit of insurance, because sometimes that first fight, especially in Dwarf Castle, can be a bit tricky. And if you have just a few more levels before doing that, that can really give you a little bit more confidence before going to that fight as well. It does look like it's the Feymarch that he's going to, so looks like he's going to try to tackle those Magus Sisters. Now, I'm not sure what items are found. If he's able to find a Mute Dagger, that can really give Kane or Edge a real big boost in damage against the Magus Sisters, as it deals 4 times damage to mage-type enemies, and the Magus Sisters qualifying as one of those.
Yeah, I don't think either of our runners have found one of those. It is worth noting that for shops, the mage masher, or the mute knife as we call it, would only be in an overworld shop, because in the T standard flag setting, it is not considered a gated weapon. Klopfer doesn't know what bosses are down here, so this is his first time into the Feymarch, which I noted when he immediately went and did that pan check that he wasn't getting the freebie item here, which is fine, but kind of coming down here now. It's actually a pretty good move on his part to do some eggs before coming down here, because you do want to give yourself at least a chance to get through these bosses. I don't think in this case, I mean, I guess it depends on which boss that is in the Asura spot, but without a Mute Dagger, I don't see him getting through that Magus Sisters fight, and that is nothing against the runner or anything. It's that is a very long, difficult fight, and that spot has a lot of hit points. It hits really hard. The magic's still just fine. It's going to be a rough fight.
Yeah, everything that the Magus Sisters throw at you is very difficult in that spot. The physical attacks especially are scary. The fact that they'll wall some of your characters can really be tough to deal with, especially if you're dealing with Rosa and Tella's cure magic to heal. Klopfer is pausing a second. Maybe the first time we've seen Klopfer pause throughout this entire run. Like, ooh, now I've got to actually think. And we see the Wyvern throwing out the Mega Nuke there in the Asura spot. So
there it is.
Yeah, gonna have to be careful and be very prepared. And it looks like gonna do some shopping at least before trying that again.
We're gonna need a more cursed ring, I think.
Yeah, cursed ring. If you can find a Dwarf X, that's probably not enough for Kane here, because Kane is a pretty fast character to start with, and the Dwarf X, I believe, only gives -5 to the agility, and you'd really want that full -15 that the curse string gives.
He did just get a drain sword, but I don't think that's gonna that didn't appear to be enough to make him go back and try that wyvern fight again. So Y2Sky, by the way, in Dwarf Castle here, which is an interesting choice considering that we have the Luca key and a complete the sealed cave objective, which makes this check less valuable, but it could still pay off for him. So we'll see what he gets out of the key item check here.
The second fight is going to be a Mylon fight. We've got yet another Edge joining the party here, but at this point, with everything that Y2Sky's done so far, and the need for even more equipment to make Edge useful, decides to ditch him at this point, and that makes perfect sense.
We got Mylon and friends here. Shouldn't be a particularly difficult fight here for Y2Sky to get through. And depending on what happens next, this could be kind of the equalizer for Y2Sky. Can get back on track here potentially, because Klopfer hasn't really gotten anything out of that pan check that has led to any other open doors, and now has kind of spent a little bit of time running around, checking shops, trying that Fame Arch fight, and they've kind of come back together here a little bit, so could be good for Y2Sky.
Yeah, Y2Sky didn't even bother checking to see who that Lunar Sparkle was, knew that I'm not going to mess with any of these lunar bosses that are still available in this seed.
Now Klopfer does have that Murasame as well, which is gonna power up Edge for a bit here. So that could be. We were talking about Y2Sky's gear advantage on those hook bosses. Klopfer might have equalized that a little bit here as well. So,
and he also equalized the level advantage a bit by cracking those eggs. And now we're going to get the key item check. Just a ribbon for completing this, and we'll see if he utilizes the warp glitch, and it looks like he's going to. Might as well take a look at this key item right now. It doesn't take much time at all, and then this way, and it is the Earth Crystal, so this gives another path that you can go if you don't want to try to face that tough boss at the bottom of the sealed cave at this point in time. You can put it off until later if you like.
Yeah, that was a really nice play by Y2Sky to remember the warp glitch there, and definitely rewarded with that Earth Crystal. That's something you can go check right now. If nothing else, you can check the treasury, hopefully get a 10 out of 10 or similar treasury, and maybe push a little bit of advantage that way. Jaded Dragon coming in 45 minutes in and only 2 to 3 key items, hard seed. It hasn't been a hard seed, but it was a hook route, and the key items, I would say, I think Rex would agree, have just been kind of hiding. They've been a little bit stingy so far. So we could have a big chain hiding out. We could have a lot of stuff on the moon. It could be kind of an interesting finish to the seed. We're really only looking for eyes on the Darkness Crystal and the Baron Key at this point. Cocal pieces would be nice, but we're really not that far from go mode for Klopfer, or for us in the booth here at least.
The pass would also be a good find at this point as well. Yeah, I was going to mention exactly the same thing. This seed seems to be very stingy with its key items. I wonder if the moon might be loaded with them at this point in time, because we haven't seen them. We haven't seen Mist Dragon yet either, and that might be another reason to head on over to the Tower of Zot, because you'll get that key item check, and seeing another boss here might not be a bad thing, or the 2 extra bosses up there with that potential for D-Mist, who might be holding an important key item as well.
Yeah, that's a good call, and I think I would be. I think Y2Sky just read your mind. Actually, gonna go start looking for D-Mist here, because you're kind of running out of options pretty quickly here, in terms of what might be a good check. So what we have left for our runners at this point is Keyless Tower, which is we know is one of the Baron Guard, because we saw the sprite when we went through the hook route. The Luca Cave, which neither of our runners have seen the boss there, but that is a required objective. So I would say it probably shouldn't wait too long, but they were able to snag that Earth Crystal from behind it, so there is that. But yeah, Y2Sky checking a lot around for Demist here, finding nothing. But I would be pretty tempted to just go do that entire Earth Crystal right now, because you're going to get a look at 2 more bosses. You're going to be able to get the whole treasury. We see Y2Sky landing in Baron here, so this is good. Probably going to go ahead and do that Baron infight now, so at least there's that for him. But Klopfer has a really interesting decision to make here now. Basically, it is, do I get that Luca check done? I don't even need the key item. But it could be the Demist, or do I go do Keyless Tower, which is a little bit, not exciting, I think, as any runner would tell you, or do I go do Earth Crystal, which is a pretty long check, but potentially with some upside there too. I don't think there's a right answer. I'll be kind of curious to see what Klopfer does here.
Looks like it's the tower is the decision that's made. Kind of the spiciest of the 3, because you get access to that treasury if you go to Zot. So that's there's a lot of incentive built in right there. There's the sealed cave, which you're going to do at some point anyways. So doing it now would make some sense, but it is a tough boss spot. You might want to wait until you've got more levels to do it. And then there's this keyless tower where, if you gamble on that and win, that could be the difference of a race. But there's a lot of time commitment to walking up and walking down, because you can't use exit to get out of the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, it's a tricky decision to make. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, like I said. Right. I do like this play, though. I think it's the safest of the 3, because the boss here is going to be something that you're going to be able to handle.
That's true.
But at the same time, you're foregoing the treasury for now. You're foregoing the thing that is required to finish the seed for now. So it's, I would say, a pretty conservative play, but it could really pay off here for Klopfer if this is going to keep him away from that Fey March. I don't think either of our runners particularly wants to do that Fey March if they don't have to.
Agreed.
So you're going to do all of these, probably. It just sort of depends on what order you're going to. And meanwhile, on the other side, Y2Sky going to be doing pan things for a little bit here. Probably disappointed at the end result, but will at least have an objective on the board. So.
And it's really interesting. He decided to ditch the Tella that he already had in his party for a new one. Just wants to, if you're going to be setting up a character to be your agility anchor for the rest of this seed, getting a low-level Tella, a base-level Tella, he can still cast all the spells. He still has his full 90 MD, as pathetic as that may be. So he can still do basically everything that a Tella needs to do, but he's just lower level, lower agility, because that is one of the stats that Tella actually does gain when he gains levels. And so that's kind of a heads-up play by Y2Sky there, to just kind of reset to a base-level Tella here.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea at all to do that, given the opportunity. I mean, I will say, too, and this is subjective on my part, but I've never really noticed a huge difference between a base-level Tella and a slightly higher level Tella in terms of how it affects things later on. Oh boy, there's a Darkness Crystal. That's big for Klopfer, so he guessed right, at least in some respects here.
It's really going to be interesting, because this is maybe a 1 in a million shot or something like that. But say Y2Sky decides to go to the Tower of Zot next. Finds the Mist Dragon. Between this Tower of Zot and the Mist Dragon, that could be 2 potential key item checks. If he finds the Baron Key and the the Baron Key and the Pass through those, he can just forego the moon completely. Whereas if Klopfer decides to go up there, he might do it. Now, like I said, this is not a likely scenario, but there's all sorts of things that could happen in this seed that it looks like it's a very big advantage for Klopfer, and it probably is. But there's still a chance for Y2Sky if he decides to go the Zot route instead.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty telling to see what happens here in the next couple minutes. Klopfer, if nothing else, Klopfer, I'm sure, is going to go ahead and do that Luca key.
Get that out of the
next,
way.
Get it on the board if possible. The other thing that the Darkness Crystal does, though, is it really gives you a lot more grind options, which could be very, very beneficial. I don't really see, with the way the seed has played out, a D-Machine grind making much sense here, but being able to go up to the moon and do gold dragons versus eggs could be pretty useful, I think, if that is the way that we decide to go here. So looks like Klopfer is going to run around and do some more shopping, getting set up for the next phase of the run here for him, or going to find a curse string as well, potentially. Y2Sky is all done with pan things, it looks like, and is maybe also doing the same thing before, maybe doing Zot here. Yep, it looks like time to go to Zot.
Yeah, we're going to see if we get a peek at this vault too, because that's always fun, and it is going down there. I think having a Kane and 2 edges in your party means you want to check that vault, because as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, these characters really rely on equipment to do their best work, and this is one of the highest good things. We see a Mirasame already, a ninja sword. These are, and another back is another power robe. This was a very nice. There wasn't a ton of chests available with that sparse 60, but the ones that were there were really impactful. This is a very good group of treasure chests for Y2Sky here.
I completely agree, and obviously this is a situational sort of thing, but I would give that vault an 8 out of 10 for Klopfer's party. What do you think, Rex?
Yeah, I think 8 out of 10 seems fair, maybe even higher. I like getting a ninja sword and a Mirasame and a power robe. There was a rune ring in there too. You don't have a lot of extra things to sell, but Y2Sky doesn't really need the money right now either, because of all the loot that he got from the Eblin Castle. So I think I might even go 8.5 for Y2Sky specifically, maybe 8 for Klopfer, if he decides to do it.
Yeah, I think it gave Y2Sky just what he needed. It should be worth noting, too, that Y2Sky should have that other Murasame as well from the Sheila 2 check, so should be good to go on edge weapons here. As we see Klopfer just continue to look for that curse string, it's worth noting it is not guaranteed that it'll be in a shop, so this could just be a fruitless venture at this point. I did just see a mute dagger in that weapon shop as well, and opts not to pick it up, and I gotta say, and this is coming from the point of view of a more experienced runner, but I always, if I have the money, buy at least 1 mute dagger, and for this party I would probably buy 2. And that's just generally. We know that there's a Maga Sisters fight potentially that could be really really bad. We haven't seen a Sura yet, so there's a couple fights where that could also just be extremely beneficial. So we'll see if that comes into play at all, but it really just depends on if that Maga Sister spot is required in some way.
The other issue that Klopfer might be running up against, as you see him going back to Evelyn, he wants to buy more Sirens and or Bacchuses. It might be more of a money consideration, although it looks like he does have enough money after that to still afford a mute knife if he wants it. But that could be some factor. I mean, 10 grand for a mute knife, it is an investment without a doubt.
Yeah, but I mean, especially if you know that there's that Maga Sisters fight hanging out there, I can tell Klopfer, like, desperately wants to find a curse string right now, and I do not blame him. So it's very easy to kind of get tunnel vision on that when you're looking for, like, one specific item. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening or anything, but it's just, I would feel much better for Klopfer moving forward in this seed if I had seen him grab a mute knife right there.
I tend to agree. I do prioritize the mute dagger as well. One of my favorite weapons in the game. It was one of my favorite weapons in the vanilla game too, even though it doesn't have... It's a lot more useful in this. There's so many situations where it really shines.
Absolutely, and okay, Klopfer is doing the moon, and Y2Sky is about to finish up Zot. So while we were kind of commentating Klopfer's shopping trip, Y2Sky has done very nicely getting through Zot and the treasury and all of that, and should be getting that finished up here pretty quickly.
we get a couple of characters up here. At this point, I can't imagine Y2Sky wants to shake up his party at all. But there is a Kane and a Yang up here, especially after that really good treasury. I don't think that he wants to make any changes here. His team's pretty strong right now.
Yeah, agreed for both runners. I think the only thing potentially you could see is they could potentially gamble on a Cecil with that X-Cal if they really wanted to, especially with all the Bacchus wines in this seed. But yeah, that's about the only character I would consider taking at this point. So,
well, there is that Ashura. The Mute Knife would help with this fight as well, although this one shouldn't be. This Valvula spot is not one of the scariest boss spots of the game. All things considered.
Should be fine. It's taking a little bit of time to get set up here for Y2Sky to get a wall on, but yeah, shouldn't be a problem. Klopfer is headed up to the moon, and I can only think at this point, if you're going to the moon, you're going up there to either grind or do checks. So this could be a pretty interesting turning point in the seed if Y2Sky decides to stay on the Earth and clean up those last couple things that we know about. Really, for Klopfer, the only things that he's foregoing are those 2 Feymarch bosses and that Earth Crystal check. Although also of note, has not checked that Luca key, and if the D-Mist is hiding there, that is a potentially very interesting development as well. We did see that in a seed last night. It was pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's one of the trolliest places, especially with the warp glitch enabled, for the D-Mist to be hiding. We see just a magma key for completing Tower of Zot, so that was kind of a fail there. Not something that you want to see at this point. It does get you closer to the 10 key items for double experience, but we're pretty far away from that with the stingy key items that we've been seeing so far this seed.
Yeah, for sure. And it looks like Y2Sky is going to head back down to the Feymarch, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know if he actually looked and saw that it was Wyvern. I think that may have only been Klopfer.
I think so.
But I don't think this is going to... I don't think Y2Sky's party is in a situation to do either of these fights right now either, unfortunately. So depending on how things go for Klopfer here on the moon, this could be... we know that Y2Sky needs to go to Keyless Tower. So unfortunately not going the way that he probably needs to go. But we'll see. We'll see what happens here.
With a base level Tella as an anchor and a low battle speed, you might be able to get the Star Veil off against Wyvern. Not sure how many you'll be able to, though. I'm not 100% sure, but I think there's a chance.
Oh, and Klopfer finding a free boss fight at the ribbon spot. That is a pretty big development here, too.
Well, here we go. Y2Sky about to get the Rude Awakening that Wyvern is here. Able to get one Star Veil off. Just one. We'll see if he's able to recover after that. Because the problem is, Wyvern's going to take a turn to wall up, and then it's going to start reflecting nukes pretty quickly. The difficulty at this point is going to be this is a very fast spot relative to his party, and so keeping up with that is going to be difficult. You really need to get a couple of Star Veils off right away in order to ensure that you'll be able to continue that fight effectively.
So the important thing here for Y2Sky is Y2Sky will be able to do this fight. All you need to do is turn your battle speed down so that you get more time to pick up those characters, because the fact that he was able to get a Star Veil off on battle speed 1 on that Rosa does basically mean he will always be able to get a Star Veil off on at least the one character. But as you were saying, Rex, the issue then becomes, how do I recover after that? And you can recover so much easier at that lower battle speed. So we'll see if he makes that adjustment. I'm really hoping that he does, because I really want to see what's behind this Wyvern. I think that is one of the most interesting questions in this seed right now.
And we'll see if that's what Y2Sky wants to do at this point. Meanwhile, Klopfer has defeated that free fight and is going to get a peek at these potential 2 key items, see if we get something important here. And just a couple pieces of gear. Crystal armor is not going to be very useful. An Artemis bow can be useful if you want to have another physical attack from Rosa. She's very adept at a bow and arrow, of course, and that's the best one in the game.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a little bit there, but I'm sure that's not what Klopfer was wanting to find.
And the D-Lunars living right next door to where they normally do. This is the Vanilla Plague spot. This is a more difficult fight. If you can get to the point to where they use breath, you can use a Star Veil to reflect the breath, and we can get some lunar frogs. When you're relying a lot on fighting, they can be tough, but Edge and Kane and Rosa all have alternatives from using just the direct fight to still deal damage to them. So that's an option that we've got available to us as well. And we saw the Ninja Flame being used. We can dart weapons at them. We can jump. We can aim. All of these are ways that you can not trigger their script where they use reflect and then bounce viruses off of them to massive damage you.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm pretty sure looking at it, this fight is going to get to that point where the frogs come out. So hopefully, Klopfer will prepare accordingly. Y2Sky opting to, instead of doing a refight with Wyvern, is instead going to take on the Mega Sisters here. So we'll see if this ends up being a better decision. I don't know. And Klopfer does get the frogs. Nicely done.
Yeah, once they're frogs, the D-Lunars are basically free. It's kind of like those Mad Ogres when we saw the size spell on them. The D-Lunars can no longer use their magical attacks, whether it's fire or virus. We can't. Their physical damage will just be 1 hit point. So, yeah, now it's just do what you please in order to defeat them as quickly as possible. One of those wonderful things that Free Enterprise has found. I don't know if anybody knew that this was a strategy you could use against D-Lunars until Free Enterprise came around.
Yeah, I know it's documented in one of the early boss guides who came up with that strategy. I'm struggling to remember who it was off the top of my head. If anybody in chat knows, please let me know. But it is one of our Free Enterprise community veterans, I believe, who discovered that.
I believe it was Dipwood who found that out.
That sounds right.
Back in the in the first Zima zone, I believe, is when it came around.
Yeah, Klopfer really striking out here on the moon. Y2Sky hasn't really been able to make up any or do anything new on the Earth, I guess, other than that Zot check. So, and it should be worth noting that, you know, if these fights go along and we do notice, like for Klopfer, for example, any damage issues or anything like that, he did skip the Troya Treasury, which had 2 really good edge weapons as well as another power shirt. So, but hey, more free, why not? For Klopfer here. Although this is going to be kind of a. Oh no, he had an hourglass. Never mind. This isn't too bad.
Yeah, with the hourglass, it's a lot easier to deal with this fight. If he didn't have it, then it could be very difficult in this spot to manage everything before the big doll hits. And Y2Sky able to get the middle sister down, and at that point, it's usually a lot easier to deal with the rest of the fight. So hopefully that means we're going to see a win here, and this could be big. If once again, if this is the Baron Key, that could be very huge for Y2Sky. Or a chain that leads to the Baron Key, like maybe behind Twin Harp or something like that.
Yeah, that is really the question here. And it is also possible, just to make a note of this, because the Baron Key does also gate 2 key items, if either piece of our Legend Sword is behind one of those 2 Baron checks, it does make the Baron Key required. So we could be in a situation where everything hinges on the Baron Key here.
We get the Legend Sword, which is another one, but there's the Baron Key and the Ogopogo spot that Klopfer just found.
Oh,
So
man.
a couple really huge finds for both of our runners right now. So um, we'll see if Y2Sky goes back into that Wyvern spot. Now, for his sake, we're going to be hoping to find that Adamant real soon. And that could be right there behind Wyvern as well. It would kind of be poetic justice if both of the Forge items are right next door to him, like on adjoining spots on the map.
Yeah, for sure. That would be pretty wild to see. This is definitely this is not over yet. We'll see what's here at the Wyvern spot, assuming that Y2Sky can get through it. Also, still haven't seen that Demas, so there could potentially be another check at the Luca spot. Klopfer also leaving the moon without doing any grinding, which is definitely a reasonable decision, but at this point, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't want to just grind, especially because you might find the pass in like that Odin spot, for example. I guess you could do eggs, and that wouldn't be the worst thing, but I think that grinding before coming back, once you know that you're more or less in go mode, may have been a play that we might have seen another runner make in that situation.
Yeah, it is an interesting sort of decision to make. It might be that he's hoping to get that 10 key item level before doing the grind. And we know that the crystal, once you get all three or three of the four objectives completed, counts towards that 10 key item count. And he's at 7 right now. So if you get 2 through the Baron checks, if he goes through the traditional Baron route first, and then that crystal, that's 3 more, and then he'd be in a better position to grind. It'll be a faster grind afterwards. So that might be the gamble that he's making right now.
It's definitely possible, yeah. And eggs are fine too, and he's got plenty of sirens as far as I know. It definitely looks like Y2Sky is also going to get through this Wyvern fight as well, so we could see, we could have an entire Excalibur broken up here. That would be cool. I would love to see that.
It's a possibility. Again, probably not likely, but would be awesome. Oh, the tower key. The dream is still alive. This will probably direct Y2Sky towards the tower in general, since now we can do both of the checks at once, and that means he'll probably get that darkness crystal as well, and so that could be very big.
Yeah, for sure. And we know there's going to be a Golbez here for Klopfer. It would be really interesting if we did find this Adamant. I think that would make for quite a race to the finish here, because Klopfer's going to spend some time doing this, still has to do Luca, still has to grind. Yeah, we're just hoping here. We're just really hoping for an Adamant, I think, for Y2Sky, because I mean, this race still could end up being interesting. It's still a long way from over, but that would be really, really spicy.
The other thing is, I'm taking a look at these HP levels over on Klopfer's screen during this fight. I think another reason that he might have decided not to do a grind up on the moon might be that he's pretty close to being comfortable where he's at right now with his levels. So between the Odin spot and the Sealed Cave boss spot, he might be comfortable. Like, I think that's going to be enough to get me through what I need to as well.
Yeah, I think you're right now that I'm seeing that. He's close. He probably needs maybe like five or six more levels on each of his characters, so he's not too far away.
And after all that is said and done, he might just like pop an egg or two in order to finish off what he needs. So that wouldn't take a whole lot of time either.
Yeah, and you certainly don't need the levels to get through, in all likelihood, this Odin spot and the Luca Cave, which was the thing that I was concerned about as well. That would be the other reason that you would want to grind earlier, is just so that you could pretty much, not run into any issues in those spots. But
Y2Sky now at the free fight at the top of the tower, has the hourglass to make these basically free. and looks like he's still prioritizing keeping that Tella at base level. Is going to be using the White Spear to cast a white spell to knock out Tella here. This is another fight where that Mute Dagger would be beneficial. The guards count as mage type.
Indeed. Also, who says Kane can't cast spells?
That's what Soma drops are there for. Yeah, actually, a lot of Kane spears can be used as items in weapon. Well, not a lot, but the Flame Spear, the Blizzard Spear, and the White Spear all useful, especially if you get them early in the run, for being able to be used as items to cast spells in battles early in it. It's a useful technique that that can really save you in certain spots early in seeds, especially. And it does look like Klopfer is going to complete the traditional Baron route first. Might be, as speculated by me a little bit earlier, might be looking for that 10th key item as a possibility. But after this is probably going to go right back in to fight that Odin spot.
One thing to point out, Y2Sky at this point is guaranteed to get to 10 key items here, so I mean, he could even get it here from this tower key potentially, but is gonna not have any issues with getting to 10 key items because of doing that. Oh, hey, there's D-Mist.
Another potential for that adamant.
So this is the spicy D-Mist. This is super interesting. So we did get a bonus round D-Mist. It just wasn't necessarily where we were expecting. So we got 2 more shots at Y2Sky getting the adamant here. So this is it. This is going to be everything on the earth. All the checks. If it's not behind the D-Mist or this tower key, then that means the adamant is elsewhere. So
now we're going to see as Klopfer checks. We're going to also be hoping that we don't see the adamant over on Klopfer's screen for the sake of Y2Sky and trying to make this a closer race in the end. We get a rat tail. I don't know if Klopfer's going to check that. I don't think there's a whole lot of incentive for him to go and check it at this point in time.
Oh, I think if he needs that 10th key item, he'll go check it because he's still on 8.
That's true.
And potentially the pass. So I think we'll absolutely see that rat tail checked.
The pass, I think, is the X factor. Yeah, that's a very good point there. And we're about to see the key item, and we're about to see a boss. We're still seeing new stuff. That's what's so great about these seeds here. Dark Imps in the Odin spot. That's a free fight for Klopfer.
Well, there's our pass. Okay.
Okay, now just go check Mist, please, Y2Sky, and let's hope for an adamant. Oh, he's going to the moon!
No! Turn back, Y2Sky.
Well, we've got a cutscene here. If he's thinking like, oh yeah, I've got the Mist Dragon, that I know I've made that sort of move before, where it's like, I'm so thinking about one thing that I forget there's this other thing right over there that I can check.
I mean, if I had a nickel for every time I tunnel vision during a race, Rex,
yeah,
I would have several dollars.
Usually my tunnel vision involves me just bonking my head against a boss that I'm probably about 2 or 3 levels too shy of being able to reliably do, but I know that I can do it if I just try it one more time. So this is something that affects everybody. Another tail found by Klopfer, that pink tail. Probably doesn't need the item. We don't have the adamant armor turned on, so you're not going to get something that broken, because there isn't anything else that's as broken as the adamant armor. But you could get a good piece of gear. It's probably worth checking in if you're going to go to that, turn in that rat tail anyways. But in general, like at this point, I don't think there's a whole lot just for that. But as you mentioned, there's a decent chance that he's going to go check that rat tail anyways. We see the twin power.
Is Y2Sky going to do it? I want to know. I want to believe.
Oh, I could totally see him going either way here.
I think he could also totally see him going either way here.
He's thinking about a lot of things. He might be going to Sealed Cave to get that done first, while he's thinking about it. Or he's at the 10 key items and he wants to do his grind now.
That's not a bad move also, to get your grind out of the way, getting to 10. So I like that also. That's a good choice here.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It means that any drama that we have for finding the adamant is delayed a little bit. So we have to, like, as viewers, it's a little bit more unsatisfying. However, like from Y2Sky's point of view, this makes absolute perfect sense to do this right now.
Oh, for sure.
Especially knowing that he has that boss down at the bottom of the Seal Cave to do, which could definitely be a difficult boss, and having more levels for that would be very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you get to this point and you're happy with your party, there's really no reason to wait on some grinding. So yeah, and either you're going to the moon after this, or you're going, to Zeromus. So this is totally fine. We're gonna see who is the Lord of the Sealed Cave today here in just a second from Klopfer. While we're running down here and while we're grinding some eggs, I do just want to do a quick shout out to the rest of our Restream team working behind the scenes today. We got Leggy Starscream on the Restream duties and Maggie the Cat doing the tracking. So thank you, both of you, for your service this morning. This has been a really exciting race so far, Rex.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. A lot of real big variance between the two runners in the routing that they've taken. And I think that's always makes for a really interesting race where two people make completely different paths and there's still potential for drama. And I think that's what's really fun about randomizers.
Indeed, yeah, and we've seen that here. And one of the things that I've loved about this format ever since it was announced is you can get these races where you can get go mode two ways essentially, and there's just something that's really cool about that. So
yeah, the objective system and not requiring all the objectives really makes for real interesting routing decisions. And we see Valvolus in the evil wall spot.
So for this party, this is actually a really tricky fight. If we had mages, I believe this is one of the Valvolus spots where she does not get any magic defense, but does have a reduced physical attack here. So I don't expect that Klopfer is going to have any difficulty getting through here, but this is definitely not a gimme.
Yeah, it looks like the Berserk Edge able to do something. Plus, we have access to Kane, who can break her out of the tornado form, and then he can do serious damage with the physical attacks once she's outside of tornado form. And so, utilizing everything that he's got to his advantage to get through this fight makes perfect sense here. And I think he's in good shape here in this fight.
Yeah, got the initial setup going. It also helps that that first week went on Tella, for example. So yeah, no problems there for Klopfer.
Yeah, it would have been a lot more of a slog without Kane, but utilizing his jumping to break that tornado form seems pretty strong. It does look like Y2Sky has decided to go to the moon as he's taking a nap at the big whale now. And so, I mean, we know that this is definitely a route he can go to that Ogopogo spot, get that Baron key, and he'll have everything that he needs. Like, it's just a little bit unfortunate because he decided to do a lot more checks on the blue planet that didn't end up paying off enough for him to catch up. And this routing, it seems like it's going to be a little bit behind Klopfer, and it's just kind of unfortunate for his sake right now.
Yeah, I think the best we can hope for Y2Sky now is that he does a top down or something and gets adamant right away. I would have loved to have seen him go to Cave Bahamut first, just purely for selfish reasons. Like, I'm not saying that's a good routing decision necessarily, because he just needs one. He needs one key item two ways. He is one key item from go mode. So going for volume, going for the easiest or highest volume checks is really makes a lot of sense here too. But
yeah, and it's like one of the things, like we talk about what we want to see as viewers of the race to find more drama and things like that. But with Y2Sky only knowing what he sees right now, doesn't know what we've seen on Klopfer's screen, is making decisions based on that, and it looks like he is going top down, which is nice for us to see, but going to the lunar subterrane makes perfect sense versus music, because going to the Cave Magnus is a long check. You have to take that black chocobo to get there. It's a slow check for just one potential key item versus the plethora of key item checks that are available on the moon. So it would have been fun for us to see the other way, but this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you can't really blame Y2Sky for heading up to the moon at this point. The only thing in defense of doing that twin harp check, I would say, is you already have the pass. So if you do happen to pull either the Baron key or the adamant out of that check, you do avoid the moon entirely. But it is one check out of one check there versus 6 checks up here on the moon. You can't really argue with that kind of logic. So also, we really want to hear music. But no, it's okay.
I mean, both of our runners checked Job Dwarf, so I'm good. I mean, I like the music, but Job Dwarf's my boy. So.
Can't argue with that. And we still have a potentially spicy Z Sprite coming up here too. So
yeah, we're not getting around that. That one's gonna happen. And we got to the point Klopfer's Rosa has learned white, so. Still wants a little bit more of insurance. Getting Rosa to the 2400 HP means she can almost certainly survive the full-powered Big Bangs. It's just a little bit more insurance for that final fight, and better safe than sorry.
Oh boy, okay, Y2Sky gets the rock. He actually has the levels to go to Zeromus right now if he wants to. This is going to be interesting. I think we have a race again. Because Klopfer has to go all the way back through the moon, and Y2Sky has the pass.
That is so big. Like, wow, that is amazing. Now, Y2Sky does have to go and defeat that Valvulus as well.
Oh, good. Yes, good point. I had forgotten that. So that is going to take a little bit of time. I would say Klopfer's in a position where if he gets through that Z fight cleanly the first time, he should be in good shape. But any kind of stumble here really opens the door.
Yeah, like for Y2Sky, I think we're going to be to win. We're probably going to need Klopfer to have like one of those unfortunate Big Bang directly into Medio, which has taken out so many runners, unfortunately. But if everything goes right for Klopfer, I think he's in great shape to win this race.
I am glad that this got more interesting, though. I have to say, as he was fighting that Leviathan and I was looking at his levels on Y2Sky's side, I was just like, if it's here, we could be in for a good finish. And sure enough, I think we're in for a good finish. So,
yeah, and I think this is also a testament to whoever wins this race. Both of the runners did a great job. They did very different ways to get here, but it worked for both of them, and that's what really makes for really good races, when both of the runners use what they have and use their knowledge to the best of their advantage.
Klopfer go ahead.
Klopfer with the early aggression, going through the more difficult overworld spots early with his team, and Y2Sky doing a little bit more adapting and taking through like that Evelyn Castle run in order to really set himself up for more success in the mid game.
Yeah, and I have to say, from Y2Sky's point of view, finding the Darkness Crystal where he did, and then making that decision to go top down at about, an hour 20 or whatever it was into the race, that strikes me as just like a really smart heads up play, because you know that your opponent very likely, I mean, it's not guaranteed, but your opponent may have skipped the Fey March, or they may have had more trouble with the Fey March than you. So, when you only need one key item to go mode, that's pretty much the easiest one to get to, and it paid off for Y2Sky. So that's just, I think that's a really good decision on his part to do that top down there. But Rex, I think we got a question to ask. Klopfer's going really fast down here through the LST, and I don't think we want to keep people waiting much longer.
Yeah, he is making a beeline down to the bottom of the lunar core. So I think we need to ask the question. It's not the nighttime, so I'll adjust it slightly. Whose butt are we going to kick this afternoon? Because it is just about butt time.
Yeah, we got the final boss here coming up, Zeromus, and we don't randomize Zeromus in any way. Zeromus is exactly as you would find him in the vanilla game, but we do randomize the appearance. So get ready for one of the curated sprites from our developers that replaces the original Zeromus sprite here.
And meanwhile, Y2Sky into that Valvolus fight. Hopefully will be just as successful in this fight as Klopfer was. And we are into the Zeromus fight itself. Erg indeed.
Someone, can we get like a spotlight or something in here?
This is pretty spooky.
I'm seeing from chat that it is Nightmare Ganon from Link's Awakening. Very cool. I have not seen this sprite before. I love it. We had a lot of new sprites added in version 4, and I believe also version 4.1 of the randomizer, which is where we're at right now. So this could be one of the new ones. I've been seeing a lot of unfamiliar butts lately.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar exactly where this is from, but I could recognize the shape as Ganon. That's one of the... when you played enough Zelda games, Ganon becomes easier to recognize. But we're seeing, looks like the Bacchus wines are coming out. The edges and keens are beating with their sticks. Meanwhile, Y2Sky has got the crystal. He's going to be on the shortcut with the pass. But right now, Klopfer is in the driver's seat.
Yeah, Klopfer has probably about a 3 to 4 minute advantage here, I would say. Also got a little bit lucky that first counter nuke from Nightmas taking out Tello, which is Tello was not going to be long for this fight anyway. So Klopfer should be in pretty good shape here, barring some sort of shenanigans with a Big Bang into a Meteo or something like that.
Right. This fight looks good, and you're right. Tello is the perfect target for that counter nuke from nerfing the first Big Bang, because he doesn't have a whole lot that he can do after the first round, especially if you're using him to use Cure 4 to heal somebody. He just doesn't have much MP left after that anyways. Y2Sky using the warp from Tella to get through some of the longer floors quickly, and he is pretty close here.
Now we'll see if he goes straight to Zeromus. I don't see any reason why he would need to grind more. It looks like that's the plan. So
he did do his grind before, so he was already prepped up. Yeah, he's got his characters in the 50s for levels. That's very comfortable.
Oh no! The airship's parked at Zot. No, it's every runner's worst nightmare. The walk of shame.
It's one of my personal rules: never take the red airship to Zot. And just in my practice scene recently, I did that mistake, and I had to make that same walk there. And it's like, and I know not to do it too.
I'm guilty of that sometimes also. Sometimes you don't have time to. Sometimes you don't have time to go swap your airships. You're speed running, man.
Yeah, just chance putting out no save for Y2Sky before going in here, just YOLOing it.
I think he did save after he got out of the Luca cave, but I could be wrong. I thought I saw a save, but yeah, we'll see.
Hopefully he won't need it either.
All right, so here we go on Y2Sky's side. Klopfer still progressing through the fight here.
What a great finish for this race.
Yeah, this has been back and forth, neck and neck the whole way. Runners, they kind of diverged to how they got to go mode, but they're really just kind of converging here at the end, and it's going to be. That's it. Actually, no medios or anything. Klopfer is done.
Big GG's right as Y2Sky is entering the Threemus fight. Klopfer is finishing it, and we've got a first place finish for Klopfer, who moves to 1-1 in this the Anima group. And Y2Sky, unfortunately, is still going to have to go down to the hook route. Klopfer, the dream is still alive to make it to the Magma group.
Yep, Klopfer will have one more match. If he wins that one, he will be in the Magma group. Otherwise, he will also be joining Y2Sky in the Hook group. I have to say, though, from watching Y2Sky race today and knowing who his two losses are against, that is a person, if I was in the Hook group, I would not want to face Y2Sky.
Yeah, raced really well. Basically did a good job of using what he's got available to him, which I think is the key to being successful in free enterprise, knowing what you have, knowing what you can do. His ability to take out those two Feymarks bosses that Klopfer didn't even want to mess with, I think really shows a testament to the skill shown by Y2Sky in this race.
Yeah, it should be worth noting again, and we're gonna see if we can get Klopfer in here for an interview. But Y2Sky was the only one who completed that Wyvern at the Asura spot, which is no joke. Some would even argue the true end boss. So, hat tip to Y2Sky on that one for sure.
And that Magus Sisters fight was not an easy one either. That was another. Both of those fights were quite difficult, and was able to get through both of them. Had to reset up once for the Wyvern fight, but only two attempts on that, and got through the Magus Sisters on the first try. And I think that's really well. And neither of our runners had that mute knife for that fight either. So.
And it looks like we are being joined by our winner in the race this afternoon, Klopfer. GG's to you.
Hey, great. Thanks a lot. It's definitely a fun race. Looked like it ended up being really close, although just talking with Y2Sky in Discord, looks like we got to the end in very different ways and still ended up this close. So I'll definitely be really interested in watching this and seeing what happened there.
Yeah, I have to say from our perspective up here in the booth, we were kind of talking about it just now, very back and forth, very neck and neck. You two were... I would say you kind of had an early advantage. You were very aggressive at the beginning of the route. Y2Sky kind of got himself equipped a little bit more, got some more levels under his belt before attempting the hook route. You also had the pan first. He found that later on, so pan didn't really turn into anything, but it wasn't objective. But from our perspective in the booth, there were several moments in this race where it definitely felt like it could have broken either way, so...
Yeah, definitely. And probably he was right to have done those extra levels because the hook road ended up being painful as I wiped a few times to Yang, and I guess I got lucky it was that plague in that spot. And so I actually didn't need the DPS to finish it. There's probably a lot of bosses there that might have just, walled me, and I would have had to leave back out and level up. So paid off, but it could have been a risk.
Yeah, that was a pretty rough hook route just in general. Yang in that first spot is no joke, and then Plague is pretty awkward. There's honestly most of the lunar bosses in that spot are pretty difficult to deal with. So
Yeah,
that was probably one of the hardest parts of the run for sure. Y2Sky also went through both of those Fey March bosses, which I know you opted not to tangle with. So that was another interesting branching point. As we do see Y2Sky finish up here on stream, but just what was what to you was kind of like your big decision or choice that you made that you think ultimately won you the race in this one?
So I think it really was that going to the summon bosses or doing basically more checks on the on the blue planet, or going straight to the moon. And I figured, well, if I can get Curse Ring on my Tele, I'll have a great anchor. I can go up to the moon, see who the bosses are. If it's kind of rough, I have Sirens, and some Hourglasses. I can go and do some Gold Dragon grinds until I get through the fights. You probably saw me look for that Cursed Ring with no luck. So I just went to the moon anyway, and I think ended up getting kind of lucky again in that first D-Lunar spot, being a great source of experience, which set me up to do the rest of the fights. And then that Baron Key, which put me in, go mode. So I just immediately left and was able to close out relatively quickly from there.
Yeah, I think
it was really that density of the moon items, because I knew I needed either that Baron Key or both Legend Sword and Adamant. So I really just wanted to have a lot of checks I could do really quickly back to back to find that item. So going moon and giving up on kind of the unknown of what was in behind the summon monsters and sought in a potential rabbit hole there. As well as I just don't like fighting Wyvern.
Yeah, I mean, it was you definitely got pretty fortunate finding a couple free bosses up there on the moon, where if there had been some rudeness up there, that really could have put you in a pretty awkward spot.
Totally agreed.
But the moon was required. It ended up being that the Adamant was at the pale dim spot. So either way, the moon, it was required to go up to the moon there. So you were the first one to kind of get into that go mode. Early on, you had those two key items pretty much right away, the Luca key and the Pan. How did you as a runner kind of approach that, knowing you really weren't that far away from go mode so early in the seed?
Definitely was just considering density of key item checks. So, once I knew, all right, hook route underground, get underground, just has to happen. Then Pan has the next highest density, so I did that. Then go ahead and get free checks and summon monsters and see if any of those bosses for free for, again, maybe density, which didn't pay off. Dwarf Castle's next good density, so just check that. So I really was just going for high density spots as much as I could. When none of those really paid off, I just went to towers. I knew that boss was free, and turned out that got me the darkness. I think that's where it was. And then went for moon for, again, just more key item density.
Yeah, I thought your routing was very good considering the position you were in at certain points, and it didn't hurt you to fade the Fey March, which was pretty challenging couple of bosses too. So I think overall it really worked out pretty well for you. So you're sitting at 1-1 now. You need one more win to get to the Magma Key route. What are your expectations, or what are you thinking now going into this final race of the preliminary round here?
Well, definitely I was just talking about Y2Sky. It seems like a very strong group overall here, so I'm kind of grateful it's not till Tuesday. It gives me a few days to get a little more practice in here. As I, wiping to Yang, I don't like having any wipes in my races, so I'll see if I can get a little more practice in and just get things a little smoother for the next race.
Awesome. Well, nicely done, for sure. Rex, did you have anything else that you wanted to ask Klopfer about before we get Y2Sky in here maybe for another interview as well?
No, I think that's good. I just want to say GG and thanks for putting on such a great show today.
Thanks a lot. And I do want to thank everyone who's put together this entire tournament. I know it's a lot of work behind the scenes, so thanks for doing all that. It's a lot of fun to play.
All right, well, GG's again, and we're going to see about getting Y2Sky in here for an interview as well. It should be worth noting, Klopfer, if you're still here, I did just want to point out, you had a race last night. You lost to Aizen Tayama, I believe, by 3 minutes, and now you had a race this morning where you won by 4 minutes. So, man, Cardiac Kid much?
Yeah, these have been really tight races. Very, very strong group for sure. I think there's a lot of really good players in this tournament. and I think we'll keep seeing a lot of close races like this.
Yeah, for sure. And it does look like we are going to get Y2Sky in here for an interview as well. So we'll go ahead and work on that here. And again, just a quick plug to our whole Restream team, our entire staff of folks who are bringing you these races all tournament long. I'm just going to look at the schedule here really quick. We have for you today. We have 2 more races coming up today at 8 p.m. Eastern on Randomania. We're going to have Jenica Strife versus Bahamut X. That should be a really fun match. And at... Oh, I'm sorry. That one's at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then at 9 p.m. Eastern back here on Free Enterprise, we are going to have KFAL versus Conkers, which is actually the final match in my group. And that's going to be a really big one as well. Those runners are both 1-1, so the winner is going to go on to the Magma route, and the loser is going to go on to the Hook route. So make sure that you come back for those races later on today. We do have 3 other races. Live and watch those runners battling it out here in the league round. So and we got Y2Sky with us in the booth here. GG's, I know that it didn't turn out the way that you ultimately wanted, but that was a really exciting race, and I think you did a lot of great stuff during that race that you should be really proud of.
Well, thanks, Blaze. That means a lot coming from you. Yeah, so it definitely the Zot rabbit hole was probably the killer. But I don't know if I'd do it any different, because at that point, especially after watching Eisen Klopfer's race last night, at the point I was at, I definitely felt behind. So I thought, okay, if I get an unconventional play here at Zot and it pans out, then I could be either back in it close or come out ahead. They didn't turn out, and it turns out that's what I lost by, but that's all right. Other than that, I was pretty happy with the run. Still hesitated too much on the summon bosses. That's what got me on Eisen too. So I've got to practice those summon fights at like high 20s, low 30s, and get more comfortable with them.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I think one of the things that we thought was the most impressive was your way to take down those fights. There was the first time that you took an unfortunate White Wyvern, but then you're able to get back into it and defeat both those bosses, and that kind of really colored the rest of the seed for you at that point, being when you found that legend sword and you're able to get that adamant afterwards. And I think that kind of put you in a position to really catch up to where Klopfer was as well.
Like I said, if I'd have done it a little bit sooner, this might have turned out differently, but that's okay. I've learned a ton in these 3 matches in the group stage, and I'm not out till I'm out. So I'll just try to keep winning through Hook group and see what comes out.
Well, I think, yeah, you were saying, Rex, some of the stuff that was really great to see you push through Y2Sky. I think that Hook route was really a really interesting point in the race, because Klopfer got off to a really aggressive start, but you pretty much closed the gap by the time we got to that Hook route, and you had a lot easier time with it than he did. So what was your thoughts on getting through that Hook route, and how satisfying was that for you to clear that particular hurdle?
In my practice seeds, and Rex can probably attest to this a little bit because he rolled a dandy for me earlier in the week, but just getting through the important parts, you notice I probably faded. I faded the Baron in. Just what you got to do for the Hook route is you've got to get those levels with the Edelon encounters, and as well as the gear, and getting that Rosa. So I went for Hobbs and saw that Rosa. I was like, okay, if this is going to be a Hook seed, I've got to have Berserk and Blink, preferably 2 sources of it, and just get everybody up to a high enough level to where I'm taking enough turns and can push through enough damage. Plague is probably the best moon boss I could see there. It's a lot tougher if it's D-Lunars or Ogopogo. So Plague was pretty easy, because I usually want to kill off Tella anyway to keep my anchor from going too high. So Kind of knew that strat going in, but yeah, I've struggled with getting through hook routes. Sometimes at the 50 minutes an hour mark, and a couple practice sessions have kind of helped me kind of prioritize what needs to happen in the overworld.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was a pretty tricky hook route, and you got through it really easily. So well done there. I think the other really great play, at least for us watching and viewing the race, that really paid off for you was deciding to check the pale dim spot first when you got up to the boon. What was your thought process behind doing that check versus maybe going all the way to the bottom and doing like the ribbon spot or something like that?
Well, at that point, I was one item away, and that's probably the major difference. If I'm 2 items away, or there's other things to do, then we're absolutely going to go dive that ribbon spot for probability's sake. But I needed 1 item, and it could have been either Baron Key or Adamant. So, and again, at this point, it's a matter of feeling behind. So I feel like I've got to make the quicker plays at that point.
Yeah, I believe Blaze kind of thought that was exactly the reasoning, and so being confirmed on that feels really satisfying and really good to know what's going on in your mind there. And it seemed like it was a really smart play, and it almost paid off when you're close by only 4 minutes at the end. That's a really good, smart play, and good for anybody watching if they're trying to improve, to listen to these sort of strategies of what's going on to improve their own game as well. Unfortunately, you're 1 and 2 now, heading into that hook route. What's your thoughts about what's been happening so far, and what are your plans and goals going forward into that hook route?
So I definitely have to say this group has been insane. I was just chatting with Klopfer before our streams caught up, and basically the losses between myself and Klopfer are mainly by a combined 20 minutes across the 3 losses. So that really speaks to the strength of the group. My race against Eisen, I lost by 12 minutes, and that was still a 1 decision thing. Just the grind decision really led to that gap. So the races have all been really, really close in this group. And it's really not the best situation if you're trying to go 3-0 and get in the table, but it's the best situation when you're trying to maybe race for the first time like I am and get some experience. So even though I've got to go into hook route, I feel like running the way I did in the races I have, I think I'm going to take a pretty good shot at it.
Yeah, I think that was my assessment as well from watching you race today. And I did also notice, as you were saying, just how this group has fallen. It's been a really competitive group. And so, I definitely think that anybody in the hook group is not going to want to face off against you. I think you've definitely proven that you have a really good chance to beat anybody, honestly, in any given seed. So hopefully you'll get some success on that hook route. I know it's going to be, kind of a tricky go. Probably not where you wanted to be, but like you said, I mean, you're just a few minutes here and there away from maybe getting in the magma group, and who knows, maybe the hook route will be, a good fit for getting through a couple of races for you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good barometer for me. Like I said, it's my first competitive tournament after running Free Enterprise casually for about a year. So it's given me a good barometer, and as well as pointed out some the exact points where I can improve. It's definitely taught me, like, you can practice on your own as much as you want to, but until you actually do races and go up against some of the best players in the community, you're definitely losing out on a lot of learning potential.
Well, I think watching this race back should be. There were a lot of really good decisions that both of you made in this race, I think, too, and also maybe just not to make this a critical thing, but also like learning opportunities and stuff as well. So I think this is going to be to be successful in a race environment for free enterprise to watch back and get a lot out of, for sure. So, but yeah, we absolutely, wish you all the best in the hook route, and I'm sure we'll see another match or two from you here on the big screen, and hope you have some success and enjoy the rest of the tournament. As you said, it's your first one, and I hope you're having a good time with it.
Oh, I'm having a blast. This has been fantastic. I can't say enough about how awesome it is that the community puts something together like this. So yeah, let's keep it rolling. At least 3 more weeks.
Very cool. Rex, I think we have a raid target picked out. Do you wanna take us out here?
Sure. Once again, want to give a big shout out to Leggy Starscream on the restream and Maggie the Cat on the tracking. My co-commentator Moonblaze Wolf. It was a real fun time chatting about this awesome race with you. And we're going to send you on over to Invenerable, who I believe is playing some free enterprise right now. And hope everybody out there has a great afternoon. And hopefully we'll see you again very shortly with some more free enterprise race action.